Hello, 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 hello. Good to see you. You get fairy dust. I get fairy dust. Little Amelie gets fairy dust. Where is she? Here she is. Um, okay, so the question for Ask an Advanced Bitch today is how do you or what do you do when you can't take in a compliment? What do you do when you can't believe somebody in your life when they're telling you you're competent or they're telling you you exceed all expectations, that you just can't let it sink in. And this came from my imposter syndrome class. And so one of the things that I taught in that class, so it's several modules on trying to deconstruct what imposter syndrome actually is. And so one of the things that I talk about, it's a defense mechanism. It's a complex. It's a way that we protected ourselves. It's actually a lot of different things, and I explain that in the class. And so one of the costs of having imposter syndrome is connection and trust. And so our pickle is when we can't accept a compliment or when we can't say you're doing a great job, when we can't take that in, a couple of things are happening. We think because we have to be in allegiance with our imposter syndrome. We can't betray our imposter syndrome, but we have to betray somebody. So we're betraying the other person. So what do we do when we don't believe them? And so what I say to that is once you understand what imposter syndrome is, that it's a complex, I've never met somebody with CPTSD that doesn't have it, is that at some point in our advanced personal growth work, we'll have to choose whether we keep our imposter syndrome or we decide to be vulnerable and let connections tell us how great we are. My story about how I realized this was my husband, when we were first together 29 years ago, he would say, "You're so pretty." And I'd be like, "Oh my God, you're so nice. Thank you." He's like, "No, like you're beautiful. Like, I want you to know that." And I'm like, "Oh, you are so sweet." Um, I don't think I was as condescending as that, but it was giving that. It was giving, like, how kind of you to say that. You're a nice person to say that. And he looked at me and he has this tell, like his forehead does this. And I was like, oh my God, this is serious. This man is like telling me something. And he's like, you really hurt me when I tell you you're beautiful and you're and you say that I'm being nice because I'm not being nice. I'm trying to tell you how I feel. And I realized in that moment, like what I was doing, that the price of my dysfunction about not being able to take a compliment, um, is about pushing somebody away. And so once I understand what imposter syndrome is, that it's a complex, that it's a part, that it is, it's maladaptive thinking, that it is complex PTSD. It's a mix of a lot of things, and none of them are good for us. Or, well, let me say it this way: that it's a survival mechanism. One of the things that it's like if you're in a room with a bunch of people and you feel it's so weird. Like when I was a non-traditional student, so I got my master's when I was in my 40s. And so, but when I'm in a group of people who, yeah, yeah, I was in a frat and I was in a sorority, like you could tell they went to school like right out of high school and stuff. Like I already feel like an imposter just because I went at a different time, but I went, and I may even have a higher degree than these people have, but I still feel like an imposter. Okay, well, what is that about? Because by definition, I'm not an imposter. Again, imposter syndrome requires some reality testing. Um, I'm not an imposter. I actually could pull out my degree if I wanted to. I have the transcripts, like I did go. So what am I playing at? but it's I'm uncomfortable because I had a different experience. I carry shame about the way that I went to college because I couldn't afford it, and because I got married very early, and because of a lot of different things, and because of because trauma, as usual, making crazy ass decisions that weren't actually helpful for my long-term goals, but they seemed right at the time. Follow the inner saboteur. But instead of just being uncomfortable, it's like, "Ooh, I'm uncomfortable. Will I have something in common with these people when they're talking about all the shit they did, after high school and the college?" I'm a little uncomfortable. Do I belong in this space? I have to instead of just saying like, "I'm an imposter," and I'm just like quiet and I'm just, both are delusions, like, both are well, one's not a delusion, I am actually uncomfortable, and that is a true thing. But one is the imposter syndrome is a delusion because I'm not really an imposter. I haven't I did everything that I said I did. Like I said, I have a degree. Someone hasn't snatched my body, you know what I mean? And the other thing I teach in my class, which is if you really thought you were an imposter, like, you have so much integrity that you would quit. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a surgeon and you think you have imposter syndrome, you'd probably like, "I need to bow out because, I'm an imposter and this is bad." Like, I shouldn't and so but we don't quit. And so there's another part of us that doesn't believe that we have imposter syndrome, that doesn't that would never like, it knows it's another thing I call it is an invisible friend. It's just this thing that we've relied on, a crutch that we've relied on. So back to the question, um, is that once you understand what your imposter syndrome is, that it is a defense mechanism, that it is thinking that's not getting you to your goals. If it is still difficult for you to take a compliment or take like you've done a good job or any of that, a good report or review, then you have to now look at your relationship, and then you have to say, oh, if I'm choosing my imposter syndrome, if I choose like I don't believe you because I'm so aligned with my imposter syndrome, now you have to say, I have friends in my life that I don't trust. Because if I don't take in that compliment, I'm telling them that I don't value their opinion, that I don't believe what they say, that I think they're lying to my face, that I think that they're trying to trick me. I mean, I have to now look at, uh-oh, my relationship is dysfunctional, and that I actually think this person is a liar. And that's at least a gift from my story, is that I knew he wasn't lying. I knew he believed that I was beautiful. I didn't believe it, which is why I was having a lot of trouble um, accepting it, but yeah, so it's like, this is the pickle. This is the pickle of advanced personal growth work, is you get to this level of work when you really like, "Oh, I wish I didn't have imposter syndrome." Then you do this work, and now you see exactly what imposter syndrome is and what role it plays in your life and how it helped you along the way, but it's outlived its usefulness. Or once you have the knowledge, now you have to say, okay, well, I have a lot of people in my life that I think are lying to my face. What does that say about me? How have I attracted people who lie to me? And it's my guess that you actually don't think that they're lying. And so then you come to this difficult place of like, uh-oh, I'm actually going to have to grow to integrate these two things, to say that the people that are in my life that love me, that give me compliments, they believe them, therefore I must accept them, or that I'm pushing them away. I'm belittling them, I'm condescending to them, or I go back to having imposter syndrome, and then we come to this place. And to me, it's a hard place, but it's also like a great place, because that means I'm going to grow mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, because now I've seen the greater truth, and can integrate these two things of like, wow, I actually have a lot of people in my life that I trust. Therefore, I have a lot of people in my life that I trust. Therefore, I'm going to believe them when they tell me that I'm great. I'm not gonna tell them, "Oh, thank you so much. You're so nice. Bless, bless, bless." Like, I'm not gonna do that to them anymore because that's not healthy either. I don't wanna have imposter syndrome, and I wanna have healthy relationships, and this is one of the ways that I do it. And so that is the work. That's the next step of work. It's like, oh no, like after that happened to me, I was like, oh, I have a choice here. I can get closer to this man by letting him say these things to me that are very kind and loving, and I can let them in and I can believe them and experience relational healing, or I can keep pushing him away. "Oh, no, 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 thank you, you're so nice. Please never say that to me again," whatever. But it is coming to terms as like, I'm at a threshold where, both of these things are true, and how am I gonna move forward? And so then that becomes the work. It's like, "Oh, no, now I have to let him tell me how beautiful I am, but I don't feel beautiful, but I don't wanna push him away. I don't feel beautiful, imposter, and I don't wanna push him away. Oh gosh, here I am. I have to grow. I have to grow to take both in. And it's a beautiful thing. And it is part of healing CPTSD because part of the healing of CPTSD is relational healing. Um, so if you're interested in more in finding out what the fuck I think about imposter syndrome and how I have deconstructed it to the very inch of its own life, um, check out my class. I would love to have you. And yeah, so there's a live coaching call this weekend. If you're watching this in 2025 or later, the archives are all available of those classes. But anyway, I hope that's helpful. Love you. Bye.